What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. This is your official early market review for week five. I'm sitting here Monday night recording this as the Broncos wrap up their win against the Bengals in the fourth quarter. I'm doing a little different this week. The reason why I'm recording Monday night is because I have some work being done in my house. So, for those of you that don't know, my little podcast studio here behind me and my office is over here in the basement of my house. Upstairs on the first floor, I'm having new floors put in. So tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to be in the house because they're going to be sanding and staining and all that, and the dust and the debris. So I've got to be out for probably a day, a full day. So I'm not going to be able to record this tomorrow. So I'm recording it tonight. Obviously, as a result, some of these lines may move by the time I post this video, but a half a point here and there. It's okay. We're going to revisit them later in the week when I do the final show, which I plan on doing on Friday. So watch out for that. As the Broncos wrap up this game, that's going to cash our only bet for Monday. We had a little sprinkle on a two-leg parlay with Achane to score a touchdown in the Dolphins game, and then the Broncos just to win. That was plus 110. So that comes through. That wraps up a 5-2 week for us in the NFL week four. So I'm very happy with that. Going back to, I just looked before I started recording, going back to week two, because remember, I had a bad week one where I went like 3-6, I believe I did in week one. It was just too many plays. I got too excited for the season to start. But the last 3 weeks, weeks two, 3, and 4, we are 16-4 over 20 bets in the NFL. So I'm incredibly happy with that. We're now up over 10 units on the season. Great stuff. Just looking to keep that going. And I do have some plays that I like. We're going to talk about some situational spots that I like for week five. So good run there, but let's jump into it. We've got the week five early review starting with Thursday Night Football. This is a pretty good game, depending some injuries right now, but we'll get into that. The 49ers headed to LA to take on the Rams. Current line sits at Rams minus 5.5. We'll provide some context for that here shortly. 47.5 is your total. It looks like Purdy was not 100% playing against the Jaguars, and he may have re-aggravated that toe injury, or it just may be a little bit worse than we expected. It looks like Pearsall is dealing with a knee injury now. You've got tons of injuries across. The 49ers just cannot catch a break, man. This is like, I can't remember it a lot. I mean, I've seen some banged up teams before, but this is insane. So they are incredibly banged up. They lost as a home favorite to the Jags. The Rams pull off that comeback win against the Colts. The Rams get to stay home. The Niners have to, not a long travel, but they have to travel. Just really tough. Now, obviously, you may get Mac Jones in this game. This was 3. The look ahead was 3, and it's actually funny. I was looking at it when it was Rams minus 3. I was like, oh, it could be a decent spot, but maybe if I get 3.5, I could play the Niners because Shanahan's always good against McVay, and now injuries kind of have derailed that whole thing. So I'll likely just be off this game completely. I do lean slightly to the under because I think both defenses are really good. And I think the Saleh, by the way, if you go back and look, Saleh usually does a pretty good job scheming against the Rams. I believe Shanahan and Saleh together, so we're not counting the games when he was not there, but them two together versus the Rams, I believe, are something like 8-4. I have to go double check, but they've fared pretty well historically against them. And now this Rams team, I think, is much better this year. So I still lean slightly to them to win the game. 5.5 is just a little too. I mean, if you get Mac Jones, maybe he makes a few mistakes here or there, but he really didn't look too bad when he played. And the bottom line here is if Purdy is really playing hurt, like he looked like he was not 100% against the Jaguars, if he's actually playing hurt, then there isn't really much of a difference between an injured Brock Purdy and a fully healthy Mac Jones, if that makes sense. So the 2.5 point swing up here from 3 to 5.5 just by going to Mac Jones doesn't make much sense to me, because if it's an injured Purdy, I don't think there's much of a drop off going to a fully healthy Mac who can make some plays. So with the points, I'd lean slightly to San Francisco, but I do think the Rams win the game. I just think it's a little too much to overcome on a short week. McVay is very good, by the way, in these short week scenarios. If you remember last week, they had that Thursday night game, or last year, they had that Thursday night game where they were dogs to the Vikings, and the Vikings were just waxing everybody up until that point, and the Rams got them at home. They beat them up at home. So McVay is very good in these little short rest scenarios on Thursdays. I think they get the job done this week. Unfortunately, because I have my Niners future on their win total is pending. Good start with the 3-0, but now they drop a game. I think they're going to drop this game, so it's going to get a little sweaty, I think. The injuries are just unbelievable for San Francisco. I can't stress it enough how crazy they are. But I think the Rams win the game. If you want to, I think they're safe to throw in some money line parlays. But not much else for me on that game. Just too much uncertainty around the 49ers. Going over to Sunday, we have another international game. The Vikings stay overseas. The Browns come in as the Steelers leave. The Steelers got the outright win. Cleveland is plus 3.5 against the Vikings, total of 36.5. That's your lowest total of the board for week 5. That is really the only way I would look at this game. A slight lean to the under, but it's just so low that I can't really get myself to play it. I have no interest on the spread. If you force me to pick, I lean the Browns with the points because I love their defense. I think the Minnesota defense, which just didn't have a great game against the Steelers. Maybe it was their travel, and the Steelers. It wasn't like the Steelers blew their doors off, but they made some big plays on offense. That Metcalf touchdown was huge. But you know what? The Browns don't have anybody like that. The Browns don't really have any weapons. Now you have another immobile statue quarterback, Flacco, going to be back there with the Flores pressure. If they can get home, they're not going to be able to do much offensively, the Browns. And I really do think on the other side, I mean, Wentz, it's kind of run its course here. They got to get McCarthy back ASAP. I don't think he's going to have much success against this Browns defense. So I could very easily see this being like a 17-13, 17-10 kind of game where one of these teams wins with one of those final scores, obviously. But the only way I'd lean is under. And like I said, slightly to the Browns, but I've been trying to stay off these international games. I know historically the favorites usually win these. I think they're 60-ish% against the spreads, just the favorites in these games. But I went back and looked, and I haven't really bet these games well. And I believe the Chargers won week 1 outright. So the Dogs have been doing well. Steelers last week in these international games. So for me, I just don't have any interest in it. I'll be laying off. You've got the Dolphins taking on Carolina to start us off in the 1 p.m. window. We just saw the Dolphins win and cover on Monday Night Football against my pathetic Jets. And now they're laying 1.5 on the road in Carolina. 45.5 is your total. Panthers, obviously night and day. We saw them in one home game. They win 30-0. We see them go on the road. They give up 40 plus points to the Patriots, get blown out. Nothing would surprise me in this one. I actually made a little video, a short form video on TikTok this morning where I was like, 2 games that I wouldn't bet on this slate are this game and then the Titans game. I try to find games every week that I want to stay away from because I really do truly believe when you're capping NFL games that it is just as important to find the games that you don't want to bet as it is to find the ones you do want to bet. Like, I truly believe that it's just as important. It is just as important to avoid losers than it is to find winners. That's really what I think. So this is a game where I would be laying off 2 bad teams. You're not getting a key number on either side. So what value really is there? You're basically picking one of these horrible teams to win straight up, knowing that either one of them at any moment could do something so stupid to blow the game. It's just not worth it to me. So a hard pass on this one. If I were to give you some kind of lean, I would lean a little bit. My numbers at least lean a little bit to the over 45.5, kind of sitting in a dead zone. 46, 47 would be the keys there. So I would lean slightly to the over. I think both teams can put up points. The next game up is the Cowboys visiting my Jets. This line has gone up a little bit based on the performance we just saw on Monday night from the Jets. And then also the good showing that you had from Dallas on Sunday Night Football, putting up 40 points against Green Bay. -1.5 up to -2.5 for Dallas. 47 is your total pretty much across the board. I don't know. The Jets did not look good offensively. I know they were on the road in this game at Miami, a place where they usually don't do well. I don't know. The Jets had one good game this year. It was week 1, and it's just been a literal disaster ever since. And I don't think it's going to get any better. The Dallas defense has been made fun of, maligned, and they did give up 40 points to the Packers, but they showed some grit. There was effort in that. They limited Jordan Love a bit. They were able to pass rush him a bit. But the Packers O-line was pretty banged up. I don't know. You're getting a step down here for sure in terms of their opponent. So I could see the Cowboys having a little more success defensively. One thing that I will say in this game, and a lot of the times it comes down to this when I'm betting NFL, it's like if I'm getting a team that I think can win, I'm not saying this necessarily about the Cowboys, but if I'm getting a team that I lean their way, I think they can win, it's a reasonable number, and I have the better quarterback by a lot, that's usually enough for me, right? So Prescott right now Dak Prescott, no doubt, is playing at a super high level. He's playing great. I mean, he's playing so well at quarterback right now. He's finding his guys. He's elusive in the pocket. He doesn't have to scramble, but he's elusive in the pocket. He gets off throws with pressure in his face. He's accurate. He's playing so well that it's hard for me to say, yeah, buy low on the Jets with Justin Fields at quarterback. Like, I don't know. I could see Dak similar to what Tua did tonight. He played pretty well. I could see Dak picking this Jets defense apart. So I would lean slightly to the over in that one, and I would lean slightly to the Cowboys, even though you're approaching 3 here. I would not play this at 3, but at 2.5, small lean to the Cowboys, although I have not played it myself. The next game up is the Raiders taking on the Colts. This is a game that I have action on. Indy laying 6.5 at home. Total is 47.5 to 48, depending on where you look. Now, this is one of your classic spots for the Colts if you really think they're a really good team, a legit team, which I do think they're an above average team, but they kind of had a somewhat of a heartbreaking loss at the Rams. They should have won that game. They're up by a touchdown in the fourth quarter. They have a big rushing touchdown called back on holding. They have obviously the Mitchell touchdown into the end zone where he fumbled the ball into the end zone. So 14 points were taken off the board. If I always like my ifs, if those don't happen, they basically blow out the Rams. So we got the win and cover on the Rams, but that was for 3.5 quarters a pretty impressive game by the Colts. So now they go back home where they've been really good this season. They haven't lost yet. And they get this Raiders team, man. I don't know how the Raiders lost on Sunday. I went back and watched, and I know there were some key turnovers that kind of screwed them, but Genti ran for so many yards. Geno made some decent plays. Crosby got a pick. He was harassing Williams all night in the backfield. He was game breaking, and they still lost the game. I don't know what you do. I know the O-line is a big issue for them. I mean, that ain't getting much easier this week. The Colts are good on defense. I can comfortably say that now. Anarumo is turning that defense around. They're going to bounce back, I think, in this one. And, my lean here is Colts minus 6.5, minus 6. Once it got to 7, there was buyback in the market. So 7 kind of appears to be the ceiling here. But even at 7, I would start putting them in teasers. I would start putting them in moneyline parlays. And that's what I did. What I did was I took the Colts in a teaser when they were at 6.5. So down to minus 0.5. I'll tell you the second team I combined it with, which is coming up soon. But I have the Colts in a teaser. I'll probably put them in another teaser or maybe a moneyline parlay. I just think they're going to I think they're going to steamroll the Raiders. I get the buy low thing here, but man, Vegas just looks, I don't know. Pete Carroll, it's just not working out. Just too many mistakes. Geno making too many reckless throws and not seizing the opportunities. They had you're up in that game late in the fourth quarter. You have an opportunity to put it away. They don't take it. They don't take the opportunities that are given to them. So that to me is the hallmark of a bad team, and I think this Raiders team is not good. So I'm pretty strong on Indy in this one, minus the points, moneyline parlays, teasers, however you like. All right, we got the Broncos taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who go back home to Philly. This one's all over the place. Right now, I'm seeing Philly minus 4, 4.5, 3.5, depending on where you look. This was originally 5.5 for the Eagles at home on the open. Total's 43.5, by the way. But then the Broncos took some early money. And the Broncos got a pretty convincing win tonight. So maybe that's aiding this a little bit. But, my first thought when I saw the 3.5 pop up was like, oh man, get this to 3 and I'll be on Philly if I can get 3 here. I don't think so here's what I'll say about Denver. And I get it. Everybody's waiting for a chance to fade the Eagles because if they're 4-0 and they've had some fluky wins and the box scores don't look right and they block a punt to score a touchdown. Listen, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing this crap. This is what good teams do. They find ways to win. So when everybody is like, here's what the sharp guys on social media will tell you guys. They'll say, yeah, the Eagles are getting so lucky. They're getting so lucky, we got to find a spot to fade them. And then they'll fade them like 4 weeks in a row, right? And they'll lose, trying to fade them. And then they'll fade them in the fifth. And then on the 5th time, the Eagles will have a bad game and they'll cash and they'll boast about how sharp they are. See, I'm so sharp. Who wants to fade the Eagles? Nobody, except for me. You're like 1-5 fading. Going back to last year, if you continue this with the Eagles, what are you like 2-17 fading the Eagles? It's just not worth it. They are a great team, and great teams find ways to win. It's not fluky if you can continue to replicate it. It's not fluky anymore. So my thoughts on this are the Broncos are largely, in my opinion, this what we saw from them last year. They beat up on teams like they did tonight against the Bengals on Monday Night Football, but when they step up in competition, they cannot hang. And that is my solid opinion on Denver. And that is what I think of that. That is what I think they are. I don't think there's any deception there. I think when they have to step up in competition, they can't hang. I think the Eagles will be able to run the ball on them, and I think they'll be able to control time of possession. And I think that defense that can, when they lock down, can absolutely suffocate you. That pass rush, I think they're going to cause issues for Bo Nix, who I'm not super impressed with so far this season. So if this gets down to 3, I don't think it is, by the way, but if it were to, I would go Philly. Even at 3.5, I lean Philly. And I don't mind throwing Philly in some money line parlays if you have another leg to pair it with. So I know the market's telling you Denver, but it's just my opinion on the game. I like the Eagles in the game. Let's see what, and by the way, let's see actually, I'm interested to see, I read my numbers this morning. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. So what is my number on this game? My number would be 4. My number is 5.5. So my number is exactly where the market opened. Actually 6. Sorry, I'm miscounting my home field. So it would be 6, and then the market opened 5.5 and it came down. So basically, this is one of those games where the market disagrees with me as the capper. I have to decide, do I have an edge? Am I confident in my numbers to where I think I have an edge because the market's pushing it down? Or am I iffy on it, so I just lay off because the market's telling me, you might be on the wrong track here? Personally, I think I'm right. I think the Eagles are going to win and cover. All right, next game up. You got the Giants taking on the Saints. No longer a winless team. The Giants pull off the upset on Sunday over the Chargers. Saints currently are the favorite, but there's more to this story. -1.5 at home, total 41 across the board. Now, this is the second teaser leg that I used with Indy. The problem is the number's gone because I got Indy minus basically down to a pick, and I got Saints up to 8.5 when they were +2.5 early this morning. Obviously, that number's gone now. They're favorites, so I'm comfortable with where I'm at, but that's exactly what happened in the Falcons game in week 4 on Sunday, right? I teased the Falcons up to 8.5. They closed the favorite. I think the Saints are going to win this game. I mentioned it in my reaction video Sunday night, how everyone's going to get fooled by that Giants game and think the Giants are fixed with Jackson Dart, but the Giants are still a bad team. All right, they're still a bad team. Go back and watch that game. They scored on the first drive of that game, right? And after that first drive, they largely did nothing. They got a couple turnovers. They gave them short fields, 2-yard touchdown. They really didn't do much after that. And I think the Saints team at home has been pretty solid so far. You saw them hang with Buffalo. I think they're going to be hungry for that first win. It's a rookie quarterback starting on his first start on the road in a pretty good home field, by the way. New Orleans is a good home field. And he already just got his first win. They did it as a home dog upset. Everyone's fat and happy. Monkey's off the shoulder. But it's not for the Saints. And you know what? I like the way Kellen Moore schemes that offense. They looked good against the Bills. They could have had the lead in the fourth quarter against the Bills. They were right there. So I'm not saying they would have won that game, but they were right there and they did cover. So I like the Saints in this one. I think they're going to this is where they get their first win. My only concern here is it's going to be a very popular. You're going to see everybody on the Saints because it's the sharp side, but numbers do matter. Like I wouldn't play the Saints at 2.5. I wouldn't play them at 3. Definitely not a 3. At 1.5, I'm okay with it. I prefer money line, but what I really liked was getting them in the teaser up to 8.5. That's what I really liked, or just playing them straight at 2.5, or plus money on their money line. Like price really matters in these spots because at the end of the day, you are betting on a shit team. I mean, even though I think the Saints are going to win this game, they are a shit team. So shit teams do shitty things to you. So that's why price matters. You want to get the right price on them. All right, next game up, you've got the Houston Texans taking on the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. This was 9.5. All the way now it's down to 3.5. Obviously, the injury concerns with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens in general are decimated. I talked about the Niners earlier. The Ravens are obliterated with injuries right now, missing like 8 starters on defense, whatever it is. Houston just got their first win. They're going to come in as a road dog. Likely going to see, if Lamar does play in this game, we'll see this line will jump back up. I don't know. The Ravens are kind of in shambles, but the Texans are also in shambles. Do not be fooled by 26 to nothing. The Titans are and I don't even know. There are no words, guys, for how bad the Titans are. So I don't want to overreact because that Houston offense is certainly not fixed. I mean, it was 6-0 at the half. Come on. They're certainly not fixed. So even though this Ravens defense is obliterated with injuries, and even though Lamar's hurt, and even though they're 1-3, and even though they don't look good, God, I do not trust Houston at all. Or getting only 3.5 in this game. I can see the Ravens winning this by 7, even with their current situation. So I don't. I'm just saying. I know it seems appealing, but man, I would not touch Houston in this game at all. I would not be surprised. Listen, would you right now watching this video? Would you be surprised if this game ended 17-10? Ravens win? No, nobody would be surprised if the Houston Texans offense shuts out the Titans, right? 26-0, and then goes on the road into Baltimore and puts up 10 points. I wouldn't be surprised at all, which is why I cannot get to the window with this game. And honestly, the only way I would is maybe to just bet the Ravens because I don't think anything is fixed with Houston, right? They had one good quarter at the end where it's just like an avalanche and the Titans gave up on the game. I don't think they're solved at all. I think they're far from being good on offense, so I cannot touch this game. Here's another game that I can't touch. The Titans taking on the Cardinals, and they're getting 9 points on the road in Arizona. 41.5 is your total. How do you not look to the under in this game with the way Tennessee's offense looks right now? I mentioned in my recap video on Sunday night that the only way I would look to bet the Titans at any point this season is the week that they fire Callahan. And that's not a if, that's when, because this guy has got to go. He is an awful head coach. He's not an NFL head coach. He's not on that level. I don't know what he needs to get there, but he cannot be an NFL head coach. I mean, it is atrocious what's happening with this team. It's sad for Cam Ward. He's not really getting a fair shot. And excuse me, I know the sharp thing to do here is going to be grab the 9.5 with Tennessee because how could Arizona be laying that big of a number to anybody at home, right? Well, no, not in my opinion. In my opinion, this is a historically bad Titans team. I'm okay with where the line is. I'm not trying to get cute or look sharp by grabbing the 9.5 and the Tennessee loses by 7 and say, see, oh, it was too big. I don't care about that. I just want to win bets comfortably on good teams. That's what I'm trying to do every week, week in, week out. And I have no interest in looking sharp by betting on the Titans. Excuse me. I haven't done it yet this season. I won't do it probably the entire season. So pass on that game for me. All right, next up, we've got the Buccaneers getting 3.5 points in Seattle against the 3-1 Seattle Seahawks. 44.5 is your total. This is a game that I'm definitely interested in the dog. The only question here is injuries, right? We know Seattle has been very good defensively this season, especially against the run, but I think Baker can catch them through the air. He made some mistakes last week on that comeback. While the Bucs were trying to come back against the Eagles, the deficit was just too much after a while. With a team like Philly who has a pretty good defense, I think it's going to be a little different. I mean, I really think they're a live dog in this game, and I know they're very banged up. I know the injuries are ugly, specifically on the O-line, but I really think that the dog is going to be live here. Coming off of a loss at home, going on the road, I'll give you this quick little stat. Seattle last 2 seasons at home, the 12th man has basically been priced in Seattle. Okay, they're 3-7 ATS last 10 home games. So they have not been a good home team. They've been an excellent road team under McDonald, 8-1 on the road, but not good at home. And the Buccaneers have been a great road team when catching points, especially above a key number. Now, there's been a move here, so you have to take that into consideration. The market moved, meaning someone sharp, maybe it was a pick service, whatever. Somebody released Seattle -2.5, -3. Somebody moved on that game to push it to 3.5, along with obviously the injuries for Tampa. But I look at this, I kind of described it earlier, right? If I'm getting a nice juicy key number with a team that I think has the better quarterback, I think the defenses are comparable, kind of makes the decision for me. I like Bucks +3.5 in this one. I have not officially sent it out yet, but if this is still 3.5, What do we have here? Minus one. Yeah, if it's still 3.5, minus 110 or minus 105 in the morning, probably will be a send out to my subscribers. I like Tampa in the game. I think they'll be able to throw the ball on Seattle. I think that's the key matchup to watch out for. And maybe finally I can have some of that Baker magic work for me instead of against me whenever I fade the Bucks. So, all right, next one up, the Lions taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Detroit minus 8.5 on the road in Cincy for next week. 49.5 is your total. Not much to say here about this game. I know this is another one where it's a big, big home dog. So everybody's going to be like, take the home dog. It's simple. It's automatic in the NFL. I'm not interested. I think the Lions have blowout potential. They do this to bad teams. You saw it last week. You saw it the week, not the week before, right? You saw it in week 2. You saw it last week in week 4. I think you're going to see it again in week 5. I think they're going to blow the doors off Cincy, who is no good. Cincy just went into Denver and put up 3 damn points on Monday Night Football. Not worth my money, not worth your money to take a chance on this team that is spiraling. They're 2-2. They're about to be 2-3. They got 2 of the flukiest wins you could ever see. This is a team that you could argue right now should be 0-4 and facing 0-5 against this Detroit team. I think they're going to win this game comfortably. So I even, you know, Detroit has been great as road chalk, by the way, under Dan Campbell, and that's because they just never quit. They never stop. So even if you're laying 4, 5, 6, 7 points on the road, they cover those damn spreads. So I like the Lions in the game, and I love them in teasers. If you 8.5 down to 2.5, great. I love them in money line parlays. They're gonna steamroll this Bengals team. Next one up, Washington in LA to take on the Chargers. We don't know who's starting this game yet for Washington at quarterback. Leaning towards Daniels, but we'll see. LA minus 2.5 at home. Couple of threes have started to pop up. 47.5 is your total. I like the Chargers in this one. I like the bounce back idea for them. Go on the road, lose as a big favorite, come back home, facing a team that I think they have a physical advantage over, an advantage in the trenches, advantage at quarterback. The only problem is the offensive line injuries. You lost Slater before the season basically started, and now you lose Alt. So it's concerning, but this is one of those games where I want to see the Chargers establish the run. And I think this was part of the reason why I think they could not get back against the Giants. Like when it's 13-10 at half, they're down against the Giants. I'm thinking to myself, they're going to come back and they're going to take care of them in the second half. And they just couldn't do it. And I thought they passed the ball way too much. I know the ground game wasn't working that well. The Giants defensive front was doing a good job stuffing the run, but you can't just abandon it. They dropped back, I think, 41 times against the Giants and only ran the ball 13 times. You can't have that kind of lopsided play calling. So seeing that was a little bit concerning to me. And I would want them to stick with the run against Washington. I think that you need to. You can't, because Washington is a team. You've seen it in their losses. When the game to Green Bay, the game to Atlanta, those are their 2 losses. The way you beat them is you bully them on the ground. You can run the ball on them. Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs. Let Omarion Hampton run the ball on this team. So I think the Chargers need to establish the run. If they do that, and then it opens up play action for Herbert and stuff like that, this Washington defense is nothing special. If Daniels plays, obviously he can make some plays on offense, but he may not be 100%. I think Washington's an average team, and I think the Chargers are above average when healthy. The problem is those offensive line injuries might end up keeping me off of this game, but my strong lean is the Chargers minus 2.5. All right, the Sunday night football game is the Patriots taking on the Buffalo Bills. Drake May and company coming off a nice, impressive win. 8.5-point dog here on the road. Although Bet Online just popped up with a 7.5, so a point move down. 49.5 to 50 is your total in this game. Hard not to lean over with what you're seeing from these offenses, but here's the thing. Here's what I'll say. The Patriots putting up 40-plus points against the Panthers, you can't overreact to it because Carolina is a really bad road team and has a really bad defense away from home. All right, that's a team that won 30-0 in the previous week, and then they get their doors blown off when they go on the road. So the Patriots going from home, 2 on the road in Buffalo, that's a great home field. That's a really tough place to go get a win, let alone compete. So, I lean to the Pats with the points because I think they will be able to move the ball a bit, and I don't love this Buffalo defense. But this is also one of those games where everyone's going to say, oh, yeah, look, see the Bills, they can't cover those big spreads because they were not impressive against the Saints, but they're just kind of coasting through the game. And then I could see them really running it up on the Patriots. The Patriots defense is not good. All right, don't be fooled. It's not good. So that's the other part of this game that's concerning. It's like, yeah, maybe the Pats can put up points, but can they hang? I'll give you my angle with the team total on this one, which has been perfect so far in the NFL this season. I haven't lost any. When I like the big dog, but I'm not sure they can hang, I go team total. Okay, I told you guys on the market review last week, the only way I would play the Saints game is team total on the Saints, and it cashed. I would go team total on the Patriots. That would be probably the way I would look at this game. Or, if you like an 8.5, the market is moving towards that way, so you can maybe grab it. But I would Patriots team total. I would look at that in this one. All right, moving over to the final game, the Monday night game. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs headed to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Chiefs minus 3.5 or 3, depending on where you look, and the 45.5 total in this game. This is the game that I sent to my subscribers already. We have the Chiefs minus 3 in this one, but we got it at minus 105, which I love. It was a great number. I was super happy to get that because now it's minus 3.5, minus 105. So that's a full point, basically, of value right there. And the minus 3s are now minus 120. So I love where we're at in this game, like in terms of our position in the market. Now, my thoughts on the game itself, if you want to bet it, I think the Jags are not that good. They're 3-1, but they have not beaten anybody, in my opinion, that's really like a great team. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Texans, who you heard my opinion on earlier. And now they beat the 49ers, which is definitely their most impressive win. But you have a hobbled Purdy. You have a very injured team, a team that situationally does not do well as a home favorite. I talked about it last week. So the Jags got a nice win. But even so, at the end there, the Niners were kind of coming back. Now, here's the real thing. Jacksonville's success so far has been turnovers. Man, they lead the NFL in takeaways, 13 takeaways so far. They already have more takeaways on defense than they had for the entire season last year. Now, I believe they got 4 against the Niners, and then 3 the week before, and then 3 the week before. Good luck getting a single takeaway against the Chiefs. They take care of the football. This is what Mahomes, Reed, and Spags do. When a mediocre team is up on the schedule, they pound them. This is what they do. All right. And they looked great against the Ravens. Worthy in that offense is such a game changer. So having Worthy back is massive. It's not the Chiefs anymore that put up 10 points in a game or whatever, or Sunday Night Football when they barely beat the Giants. With Worthy back, this is what it is. 37 points against the Ravens, blow them out at home. Now you go on the road with a chance to get back above 500. The Chargers are getting banged up. The division is right there. So I love the Chiefs in this spot. I think they're going to win by 7+. So if you want to play 3.5, or like I said, throw them in money line parlays. But this is the type of game in prime time where they come through. You know what this game really reminds me of? There was a Sunday night football game last year where Kansas City was going to Atlanta, to the Falcons and Kirk Cousins. And the Falcons were +3 at home, same exact line. And the money just wouldn't stop. The Falcons were 4.5 to begin the week, 4, 3.5, then 3. It just kept coming in. It's like, yeah, and then the Chiefs win and cover because it's what they do. Mahomes is great as road chalk. They're a trustworthy team. They're not going to do anything stupid, and I think the defense is going to do very well against Lawrence and the Jags offense. Plus, by the way, Jacksonville not a great home field. So I love everything about this one. I like the Chiefs a lot in this game. So that's a pick for you guys. KC -3 is what I have. All right, that wraps it up. This is the first week with buys, by the way, which is why we have less games, because there's I think 4 or 5 teams on their first bye week or their bye week of the season. In my opinion, those teams are kind of interesting to look at. I think Atlanta, Green Bay, a couple others have buys. Those teams are very interesting because those are the teams, guys. And let's look real quick. Maybe I'll do a minute on futures. Those are the teams that I want to fade late in the season. So I always keep note which team had the earliest bye, because they're going to get tired. All right. Look at the way Green Bay's defense looked on Sunday Night Football just after 4 games. They looked exhausted. But Dallas was going up and down the field nonstop on them. So imagine now they get their bye week in week 5. Imagine what they look like in week 13. You're going to find plenty of spots to bet against these teams that had early bye weeks. So keep that one in your back pocket. Keep that in mind. And by the way, vice versa for the teams late. you might find that if a team still hasn't had their bye in like week 7, week 8, they could start to fade, and you can find situational spots to bet against them, and then find situational spots to back them when they come out of the bye. Now, obviously, personnel matters, coach matters because everybody's got different success or history with bye weeks, but just general rule of thumb: teams with the earliest bye, I want to fade them later in the season, and vice versa. So watch out for those teams that are off this week. And what I like to do is just keep up with what's going on during their bye week because you can check the beat writers and see what's going on. So you get plenty of news that way. All right, that's your week 5 review. Like I said, I will be back later in the week. Probably Friday morning. You will have a video up in your feed where I will do kind of like a final. I don't know what we'll call it yet. This is called the early market review. I don't know, final market rundown and maybe a best bet thrown in there. I already gave you one on the Chiefs, but maybe we'll do something else, or maybe like parlay of the week, teaser of the week. We'll figure something out. It'll be fun. But I'll see you guys on Friday for that one. Thanks for watching as always. I'll catch you guys next time.